Number one, we're classifying negative 6x to the fifth minus 3x to the fourth plus 8x cubed plus 8. 5 will be quintec. And since it's 4, it's just going to be polynomial. Number two, it says classify 5x to the fifth minus 6x cubed plus 6x squared plus 11 by the number of terms. It's going to be the same thing. It's going to be quintec polynomial. Quintec polynomial, since it's raised to the fifth power. Consider the leading term of each polynomial function. What is the end behavior? Remember, there's two different types of polynomials. There's the even, and even is going to behave up, up, or down, down. Even. Odd is going to behave like this, which is down, then up, or it's going to be up, up, and down. So that's how we have two different types of end behaviors. Both 3 and 5, or 3 and 4, you notice that they're raised to the fifth power, and this is raised to the seventh. So if you want to make a note, this would be odd, and the leading coefficient is positive. So it's going to behave like down and then up. So the leading coefficient is positive. So A is positive, A is positive, A is positive, A is positive. We're going to eliminate the ones that say up, up. So B says up, up. Down, down is A. So now it's between C and D. And we know that it is a positive leading coefficient. So it's going to be down and then up. So your answer is D. So for number 4, we notice that that's a negative there. It's a negative leading coefficient. This will be a positive leading coefficient. This will be a negative leading coefficient. This is positive, and this is negative. So remember, like I taught you in class, the negative is just a reflection over the x-axis. So the negative is a reflection over the x-axis. So you notice that we're going to also eliminate anything that says up, up, or down, down. So it's going to be A, A. We're going to eliminate A. And we're going to eliminate C, because those two are going to be down, down, or up, up. So now it's negative. So it's going to be up and then down. So your answer is B. If you look at number 5, it says graph y equals 4x minus x cubed. How many turning points? Well, here is a graph. This is a turning point, and this is a turning point. There's actually 2. So definitely the answer will not be C. If you go to the next page, definitely won't be D. Let me make it larger. And definitely B is not the answer, because it's reversed. So the answer is A. The graph of 4x minus x cubed will be A. And just remember that this right here is a turning point, and this right here is a turning point. This is also a minimum point, and this one is also a maximum point. And you do have a question of that, question of max and min on the test. So the max here is 1, 3, and the min here is -1, -3. So this is local max, and this is local min. Local max and local min. Write the polynomial in factored form. So you notice that x here is a common factor. And you also know that 6 is a common factor. So the GCF is 6x. So you have x squared plus 6x plus 8. Now you're going to factor 8. And you notice that it's going to be 4 times 2. Because 4 times 2 is 8 and 4 plus 2 is 6. So the factors are 6x, x plus 4, and x plus 2. So this is in a factored form. These are linear factors. Number 7, we have x cubed plus x squared minus 12x, and you want to write it in factored form. So you find the greatest common factor. In this case, it's x. So you have x squared. And if you want to check if you did it right, it's going to be x times x squared gives you x cubed plus x. X times x is x squared. And then you have minus 12. You're going to have to look at negative 12 and find the factors of negative 12 that when you add up give you 1. So what about 4 times negative 3? And 4 minus 3 gives you 1. So what are the factors? You have x plus 4, and x minus 3. So these are the linear factors. On the test, you will have to graph this. I'm just going to find the zeros here like I taught you in class. What are the zeros of this function? So we have x. So we have x equals 0. X equals, since it's positive 4, to move it to the left, it's going to be, to move it to the right is negative 4. And then you have x equals negative 3. Now, if I were to graph this, you notice that these are all real numbers. So you're going to be able to see this graphically. So I'm going to pause it for a minute. So since these are real numbers, you can see the actual zeros here. There's 0. Here's another 0, negative 3, and negative 4. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do number 9. So once again, what are the zeros? You're going to have x equals negative 3, x equals negative 4, x equals 5. And if you want to see it graphically, you can put it into the graphing calculator and you'll see these zeros. Number 10, what is a cubic polynomial with these zeros? So like I taught you in class, we're working backwards. So we have x equals negative 3, x equals negative 3, x equals negative 5. And you notice that negative 3 has a multiplicity of 2. So now we're going to have the factors x plus 3, x plus 3, and x plus 5. There's x plus 5. You're going to multiply. And in this case, they have f of x. We were using y in class. So we have f of x, and I'm going to try to show my work here. X times x, you need to know how to multiply binomials. So x times x is x squared. X times 3 is 3x. 3 times x is 3x, so that's 6x. And then 3 times 3 is 9. So now you need to multiply the trinomial, which is a quadratic, times a binomial. So you have x times x squared. In this case, it's x cubed. X times 6x, that's plus 6x squared. Then you have x times 9, which is 9x. And you're probably thinking, okay, are we done? At this case, we're not done because we still have to distribute the 5. So we have 5 times x squared. And I don't have room to show the rainbow here. So it's plus 5x squared. Plus 5 times 6x is 30x. And then 5 times 9 is 45. So it's x cubed is the largest one. So you're gonna have x cubed. I'll write it up here. X cubed. I'm gonna mark it out. 6x squared plus 5x squared, that's 11x. 11x squared, you mark those out. 39x, you mark it out. And then you have 45, right? So it appears that the answer will be D. And you notice that they're all reals. What you can do is you can just graph it if you wanted to. And I'll pause it right now so I can graph. So I went ahead and graphed it. And you notice that you have negative 3 right here. And it's repeated twice. So it's a multiplicity of 2. And then you have negative 5. So it's right there. What are the zeros of the function? And we have x to the 4th plus x cubed minus 2x squared. And you have to ask yourself, what do they have in common? Because we're going to factor to find the zeros. So you notice that they all have x squared in common. So I'm going to go ahead and factor. So I have x squared parentheses. X squared times x squared gives you x to the 4th plus x times x squared gives you x cubed minus 2. So there's the minus 2. And if you want to check if we did it right, you just have to multiply. So the first 0, and I'm going to do it down here, x squared equals 0. So x equals 0 comma 0. So we have 2 zeros. So it says number 0 is a multiplicity of 2. I would say that the answer is either going to be C or D. Okay, so we're going to focus on those two for right now. Now we have x squared plus x squared plus x minus 2 And we're going to factor, because we can factor here, negative 2. So it will be, I'm going to say equals 0, equals 0. So we have x minus 2. No, it'd be x plus 2, x minus 1 equals 0. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. And then 2 plus negative 1 is 1. So what are the zeros? X equals negative 2. X equals 1. So definitely answer A and answer B are incorrect. So the number of 0 is a multiplicity of 2. And we have negative 2 and 1 are zeros of a multiplicity of 1 because they occur once. So your answer is D. So altogether we have 4 real zeros. What are the real imaginary solutions of each polynomial? Now, I'm going to warn you, this is a lengthy process. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start by factoring x cubed. I'm going to factor x cubed plus 125, which you know is going to be 5 cubed. I'm not going to go fast, but there are some steps that I may skip. If you have questions, please let me know in class. So we have x plus 5, we're factoring, and then you have x squared minus 5x plus 25. So step 1, I factored. The first 0 is real. X equals negative 5. That's the first 0. The second 0, I'm going to have to use a quadratic formula. So you have x equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4 times ac divided by 2 times a. We did this first semester. Remember, you need to identify the values a. In this case, it's 1. You need to identify b, which is negative 5. And you need to identify c, which is 25. Okay? So now we're going to go ahead and substitute. So we have x equals 5. Since it was already negative 5, the opposite of negative 5 is 5. Plus or minus a square root. This is the discriminant. So I'll write here the word discriminant, the vocabulary. And discriminant will tell you if it's imaginary or real. So we have 25, because 5 times 5 is 25. Negative 5 times negative 5 is 25. Minus 4 times a is 1, and then c is 25, right? Divided by 2. So x equals 5 plus or minus square root. 4 quarters is 100. 25 minus 100 is negative 75 over 2. So I'm going to have to move this a little bit. You have to simplify. You have to simplify square root of negative 75, which is going to be the product of the square root of negative 1 times the square root of 3. Since there's 3 quarters is 75, so square root of 25. So the square root of 25 is 5. So what are my zeros? It's going to be 5 plus or minus square root of 25 is 5. Square root of negative 1 is I times the square root of 3. And what I just finished doing is called simplifying. And like I told you in class, this tells you the number of zeros you have. So in this case, you have 3 zeros, which are negative 5, x equal negative 5. And the other 2 zeros are right here. If there's any question in the process, please talk to me in class. 14, we have x to the power 4 minus 61x squared plus 900 is equal to 0. And so I got to find the factors of 900 that will give you negative 61. So I'm going to go ahead and just show you what I did here on the side right now. I'm pretty sure you guys will do this at home, your calculator. I said 900 divided by 9, that's 100, so 9 plus 100 is not going to work. 30 plus 30 would be perfect, but it's 60, and we want 61. So I went to 36. 900 divided by 36. 36 is divisible by 3, so 36 times 25 gives you 900, and guess what? 36 times 25 also gives you negative 61. So I found it. So you're going to write x squared minus 36, x squared minus 25. Okay, Some of you are probably going to say, well, I wanted to put x here, but remember it's x to the fourth. The 4 tells you there's going to be 4 zeros. There's going to be 4 zeros. So this is going to be x squared minus 36 equals 0. X squared equals 36. Find the square root of 36, and x is equal to 6 and negative 6. How do I know? Mentally, I can just check 6 times 6 is 36. Negative 6 and negative 6 is positive 36. Now you have x squared minus 25 equals 0. X squared equals 25. And so x, I want to find the square root of both sides. You notice that x is going to have to be 5 or negative 5. So you notice I have 4 zeros. I have 4 real zeros. You can check, and you're going to see that these will be the x-intercepts of the graph. So I highly recommend that you check using Desmos and check if those are our zeros. So I'm going to go ahead and stop. We're going to go ahead and factor x to the fourth power minus 52x squared. And you notice that minus 576 has to be on the left side. So you should be adding 576 equals 0. You're going to have to find the factors of 576. You have to use find the factors of 576. So I'm going to go ahead and stop it. I first divided 576 divided by 7. That didn't work. I got 576 over 7. And then I divided by 16 by chance. I just guessed. 16. So 16 plus 36 gives you 52. Okay, so I found it. So it's going to be x. It's going to be x minus 16 and x plus 36. And I know you're telling me, sir, it can't be x. And you're right, because remember, it has to be x to the second power. It has to be x to the second power. So now we have x squared minus 16 equals 0. So x squared equals 16. You find the radical, or you square root 16. So that's 4 and negative 4, and that's a real solution. That is a real solution, and I made a mistake. It's not positive 36. This will have to be negative 36. So we have x squared minus 36 equals 0. So x squared equals 36. You find the square root of both sides. So x is going to be 6 and negative 6. So you have 4 real zeros. And once again, you could have graphed if you wanted to. What is the formula? What formula should we use to do the sum of cubes? Because 8 is a cube. It's x cubed. It's x cubed plus 2 cubed. So remember, it has to be the one that has a plus b. So it's either going to be a or it's either going to be c. So, and also d. It could be also b. Okay, so there has to be a difference. Okay, so the first has to be a plus b. Okay, that one's a minus b. This one's a minus b. Okay, so now you have a plus b. This one's not a plus b, so your answer has to be this. And all you have to do is follow the formula. You don't have to memorize it. That will be the formula. What are the linear and quadratic factors? And I'm going to go ahead and use red here, or I'll stay with fuchsia. 3, maybe it's not fuchsia. 3x cubed plus 81. And you're going to tell me 3 is not a perfect cube. That's right. So remember, we did this in class. We're going to have to factor a 3. So I'm going to factor a 3. So you have x cubed plus 81 divided by 3 is, I think it's 27. 3 times 27. I'm just going to verify. 3 times 27. It does give you 81. So it's 27. Okay. So right now I'm going to ignore the 3. So now I have x cubed plus 3 cubed. And I highly recommend that you use the formula before watching the answer. Maybe you can try to do it and see if you can get it right. So the way I always remember it as x plus 3. That will always be x plus 3. So which one has a linear factor of x plus 3? Okay, D is not a linear factor of x plus 3. C is not a linear factor of x plus 3. and a is not a factor of x plus 3. So it has to be b. So now the way I remember it, the first term squared, the last term squared, and then you multiply and it's opposite, so it's minus 3x plus 9. So that is correct. Your answer is okay. I'm going to go ahead and put it into YouTube, and I'm also going to upload it into Edpuzzle.